Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we have a story that nobody saw coming and almost nobody is willing to talk about. On the record, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have finally broken their silence on what insiders are quietly calling a royal signature drama, and the fallout is pointing straight at William and Catherine. The couple released a joint statement overnight that has sent shockwaves through every corner of the palace machine. It was not a social media post. It was not a podcast teaser. It was a formal declaration signed by both of them, and the signature at the bottom has set off a constitutional firestorm that the monarchy may not be able to contain. But before we get into the details of what they actually wrote, you need to understand why a signature can be so dangerous in this family of all families. Let us rewind for a moment and set the table properly. This is not just any family squabble over a leaked email or a family group chat in the House of Windsor. A signature is more than ink on paper. A signature from a working royal carries the force of the crown itself. It binds institutions. It embarrasses governments. It makes legal promises that cannot easily be retracted. So when two senior members of the family put their names on a public document that accuses other senior members of betrayal, something far bigger is happening than tabloid gossip. This is structural. This is institutional. This is the kind of action that rewires how the monarchy operates for the next 20 years. Now, the part you need to hear carefully. Sources close to the Sussex camp tell us that Harry and Meghan did not draft this statement in a rush. They did not wake up angry and vent. According to multiple insiders who spoke under condition of anonymity, the document was prepared over the course of several weeks and was reviewed by 3 separate legal teams before it was released. The wording was deliberate. The tone was calculated. The signatories were chosen on purpose. That alone tells you that this was not an emotional outburst. It was a message. And the target of the message was not the press or the public. It was William and Catherine. That is the part that has the palace in full emergency mode this morning. Reactions from inside Kensington Palace have been described by staff as tense and clipped. William has not appeared at any public engagement today, and Catherine has reportedly cancelled 2 scheduled appearances for the remainder of the week, according to a senior courtier who has worked inside the royal household for more than 2 decades. This is the most serious internal challenge that William and Catherine have faced since they became the Prince and Princess of Wales. And remember, this is a couple that has already survived a global media storm, a hostile press campaign, a televised Oprah interview, and a Netflix series designed to put them on the defensive. For them to retreat from public view sends a signal louder than any headline could. The implications ripple far beyond a single news cycle. Let us now take a closer look at what was actually written in the Sussexes statement. The document begins by acknowledging the long-standing tensions between the 2 households. It does not bury the conflict in flowery language. It says only that relations between Harry and Meghan and the rest of the family have reached a point where formal written communication has become necessary. There is a reference to events that reportedly took place during a private family meeting earlier this year. There is a reference to a request made through official channels that they allege was denied. And critically, there is a section that names the use of an official royal signature on a document that, according to Harry and Meghan, exceeded the authority of the people who signed it. That last point is the explosive one. In plain English, Harry and Meghan are arguing that William and Catherine used a royal signature on a piece of paperwork that they did not have full authority to authorize. If that claim is even partially true, calls into question the legitimacy of decisions that have already been made within the household. If it is not true, the accusation itself is a constitutional event of its own kind, because it forces the palace to respond in writing and on the record. Either way, the institution has been damaged. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, sources at Buckingham Palace that we have been in touch with describe a very different narrative. They say the document in question was signed by appropriate members of the household under standard delegated authority. They say the suggestion of impropriety is unfounded and politically motivated. They say the timing of the Sussexes statement was designed to coincide with a major foreign tour by William and Catherine in order to maximize embarrassment. And most importantly, they say the king himself has been fully briefed and has authorized a formal rebuttal that will be made public within the next 72 hours. So we now have a situation where 2 competing narratives are being broadcast through official channels. One side says the signature was misused. The other side says the criticism is being weaponized, and the monarchy as an institution is being forced to watch the family argue over the very methods that hold it together. This is a constitutional crisis without a courtroom. This is a family argument without a kitchen table. This is happening live, and it is happening in the documents themselves. At this point, you might be wondering what kind of signature could possibly carry this much weight. Let us explain. Within the royal household, there are specific documents that require specific levels of approval. A simple acknowledgement letter can carry a basic signature stamp. A decision involving charitable funds requires line-by-line authorization. A document affecting the future branding or operations of a household unit has historically required the personal authorization of the most senior working royal in that unit. That is the standard that has been in place for decades. It is enforced quietly. It is enforced through tradition rather than law, and it relies on one crucial expectation, that the people putting pen to paper are acting in good faith on behalf of the broader family. The Sussexes statement now puts that expectation under a microscope. By challenging the authorization of a specific signature, they are effectively saying that good faith has broken down. That is a different kind of accusation than any tabloid has ever leveled before. This is not about a leaked phone call. This is not about a private argument overheard at a wedding. This is about the integrity of the family decision-making process itself. And once that integrity is questioned in writing, it becomes almost impossible to repair. Now the chapter you have been waiting for. Let us talk about William and Catherine directly, because while all of this has been unfolding on paper, something very different has been happening behind closed doors at Adelaide Cottage and at Kensington Palace. According to multiple staff sources, William has been in a state described as focused and cold. He has not raised his voice. He has not dismissed anyone. He has simply been working through every single document associated with the dispute and preparing a structured response. Catherine is said to be handling the emotional dimension of the household. She is reportedly the one managing communications with the king. She is reportedly the one coordinating the household staff. She is reportedly the one shielding the children from the noise. That is significant because it shows a deliberate division of labor between the future king and his consort. William handles the institutional response. Catherine handles the human response. That is not the behavior of a couple under siege. That is the behavior of a couple in command. Now here is something the Sussexes did not anticipate. Within hours of the Sussexes statement being released, a parallel statement was prepared by William and Catherine through their own household counsel. That rebuttal has not been released yet, but according to senior legal sources, the document has already been approved by multiple parties and is ready to go. The decision on whether to release it depends entirely on whether the king intervenes first. This is a layered response. Layer 1 is the institutional response from William and Catherine. Layer 2 is the family response from Buckingham Palace. Layer 3 is the response that may come from the king himself. Each layer serves a different purpose. Each layer has a different audience. Each layer carries a different constitutional weight. The Sussexes, by going public, have now woken up every sleeping mechanism the palace has. That may not have been their intended outcome, but it is the outcome they have created. Let us now step back and discuss the stakes for the Sussex brand, because this statement was not just a letter to the family, it was a public act, and it carries public consequences. Meghan is widely understood within entertainment circles to be building a personal brand around her continued connection to the monarchy. Her streaming deals, her lifestyle ventures, her philanthropic partnerships, all of them depend on the perception that she remains culturally relevant as a member of the royal family. A signed statement that openly attacks other working royals damages that perception quickly. It pushes her out of the soft space of glamour and pushes her into the hard space of conflict, and conflict does not sell the same way. So, from a brand perspective, this move carries enormous risk. From a legal perspective, carries even more. The Sussexes have now formally contested the authority of a document that has already been acted upon by other parties. If courts decide later that the original document was indeed valid, the Sussexes' claim will have been contradicted. And on the good, if courts decide even partially in their favor, every decision made on the basis of that document will be subject to review. There is no clean outcome here for them. This is the trap they have laid for themselves. Now let us talk about the timing. Why now? Why release this statement this week? Why not in 3 months, when the news cycle would be quieter? According to our analysis, the timing is not accidental. It appears to have been designed to compete with a major public event involving William and Catherine. It appears to have been timed to coincide with internal budget reviews at the royal household, and it appears to have been released during a window in which media outlets that are sympathetic to the Sussexes have prepared detailed feature stories to accompany the document. That is not coincidence. That is a coordinated plan, and a coordinated plan is exactly what the palace has been preparing for behind the scenes for months. Which brings us to the next chapter. The King Charles is the only person in this entire drama who can unilaterally decide how this conflict ends. He can summon both couples for a private meeting. He can authorize a public statement. He can withhold his thought from one side. He can call for a formal inquiry. All of these mechanisms are available to him. None of them are politically painless. According to insiders, Charles has been quietly monitoring the situation and has resisted taking a public position. That resistance is now running out. The next 72 hours will likely determine whether the king intervenes publicly for the first time in this dispute. If he does, the entire dynamic shifts. It becomes no longer a question of one couple speaking against another. It becomes a question of the crown itself weighing in on whether one of its own households has acted improperly. That is a level of gravity that neither Harry nor Meghan may have fully accounted for when they drafted their letter, and it is the gravity that may explain why William has been so deliberate in his response. He is not fighting two siblings. He is fighting for the outcome he wants when he becomes king. That is the real battle here, and the signature on the Sussexes document has just made it public. Now, let us extend the timeline a little further. What happens next week? What happens next month? What happens in 6 months? If the king intervenes publicly, the Sussexes will be forced into a binary choice. They either accept the king's judgment and quietly retreat, or they escalate and push their grievances into legal territory. Legal territory is dangerous for them. Every additional legal filing strengthens the institutional record against their credibility, and credibility is the only commodity that the Sussex brand actually sells. So the path forward is narrow. It is shrinking with every hour, and the palace knows it. Sources on both sides have confirmed that there is currently no appetite for further private conversations between the households. That is the language of exhausted diplomacy. That is the language of a family that has run out of soft options. If diplomacy is over, what remains is exposure. That is exactly what the Sussexes statement has delivered, and it is what William and Catherine have been preparing to receive. Now let us pull back and address the broader question. Why does this matter to you? Why does the fight between two branches of famous family deserve hours of digital coverage? Why should anyone outside palace walls care about a piece of paper with two names at the bottom? The reason is not gossip. The reason is institutional trust. The royal family operates on trust. It trusts its members to act on behalf of the institution. It trusts its signatures to represent the whole. It trusts the public to accept those signatures as legitimate. When two members put pen to paper in order to question the authority of other members, that trust cracks. It does not crack overnight. It does not break loudly. It breaks quietly in thousands of small decisions made by staff and courtiers who now have to second guess every document they see. That is the long-term damage. That is the institutional damage. That is the kind of damage that does not get fixed in a press conference. It gets fixed over years, if it gets fixed at all. And that is why this story is not about Harry versus William. It is about whether the monarchy can absorb another internal wound of this scale. History will not judge this by the words of the statement. History will judge this by what happened next. And what happens next will be decided by signatures, whose ink is on the page, whose authority is behind the ink, whose name carries the weight of the institution. That is the question. That is the fight. And that is why a single statement has turned an already volatile family drama into a constitutional test. Let us now share with you what we know happens next on the calendar. First, the king's intervention. If it comes, it will come within 72 hours. If it does not come, the William and Catherine rebuttal will be released by Friday. Then the budget review. A formal review of the household budgets for all working royals is currently underway. The Sussexes document has now been entered into that review as a relevant piece of evidence that is significant because it shifts the document from being a personal grievance into being an institutional input. Then the foreign tour. William and Catherine are scheduled to complete their tour early next month. Their public demeanor during that tour will be studied minute by minute. Every smile will be read as a political signal. Then the books. The annual financial review for the household is published in autumn. Every line in that document will now carry an extra level of scrutiny. And through all of these moments, a single question will remain unanswered on the record. Was the signature in question authorized properly? Was it within the scope of the people who signed it? Did it bind the family in ways that should have required broader consultation? If the Sussexes are proven wrong on these points, their credibility will take a generational hit. If they are proven right, the institution will have to remake itself. Neither outcome is comfortable. Both outcomes are now in play. And that is what makes this story one of the most consequential royal family disputes in recent memory. Thank you for staying with us through this entire account of what is happening right now. Make no mistake, this story is moving fast. It could change before the day is out. So please share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Tell us what you believe about the signature. Tell us who you think was right. Tell us whether you believe this changes the future of the monarchy. And if you think William and Catherine have been exposed or unfairly targeted, we want to hear from you as well. The next chapter is being written as you watch this, and your voice, when added to the conversation, helps all of us understand how this institution survives the storm. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share this report with anyone who follows the royal family. Until next time, we will see you in the next video, and we will keep watching the signatures. Goodbye for now.